Today I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you may not want to move to Guelph, Ontario. Now, Guelph is a great town overall, but there are a few key things that you have to know before you make this town your home. And these are some of the key considerations me and my family had thought about when we were planning to move from Cambridge and we were thinking between Kitchener-Waterloo or Guelph on the other hand. So that's what this video is about. Stay tuned and let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time to this channel, be sure to subscribe below and tap on that bell for notification so you are the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. My name is Dharmik Dixit. I'm a local real estate agent serving Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo and surrounding towns. I've helped many families with their move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo and I absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or you can even schedule a Zoom call. All the info you will find right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you and your family with your move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. Let's talk about the cost of living. When it comes to Guelph, Ontario, back in days, it used to be the town that's considered like affordable, especially people moving from Greater Toronto area. Guelph was that sweet spot where you're not moving too far away, just about 40 to 45 minutes, but it still gives you some great real estate price points and rents. Now that has changed over the recent past, especially with a lot of people moving in Guelph, Ontario and some of the suburbs further away, such as Kitchener-Waterloo. And that's true for Guelph as well. I mean, if I were to talk about the real estate price points, the difference in the price parity between Guelph and some of the GTA suburbs has kind of shrunk over a period of time. And I have to say the cost of living in Guelph has definitely gone up over time, partly due to the price of real estate. Whether you own a place or rent, the prices have definitely gone up. And as we know, the major part of any household budget is gonna be either a rent or your mortgage payment, and that has definitely gone up. And what I'm also trying to do is to give you a comparison. Let's say Guelph is about 40 to 45 minutes from Greater Toronto area. If we were to go further away, let's say Kitchener-Waterloo, where we live. Now, that's about an hour away from Toronto and suburbs. But what you will find is if you, let's say, are a first-time home buyer who is trying to find a home within a specified budget, what you will notice is you will find more value for money in terms of real estate in Kitchener-Waterloo versus that of Guelph. There is about $100,000 gap in terms of prices, although you're not moving too far away. Like I said, about 20 minutes further away from the Greater Toronto area. But that's what I'm trying to say. Cost of living is one of the key considerations, especially if you're a first-time home buyer who is trapped in a limited budget, trying to get your foot in the real estate market. I feel like Guelph is become like a tough cookie to bite nowadays in compared to back in days. And just to add to that, that's one of the key reasons why we decided to rather move further away into Kitchener-Waterloo in comparison to Guelph when we moved from Cambridge, because what we found is, again, we were just working with a specified budget, and what we find is the similar type of real estate you find in Kitchener-Waterloo within your budget is actually turned out to be better than what you can find in Guelph. So as long as you are able to commute that extra 20 to 25 minutes from the Greater Toronto area, especially if you don't have to commute as often, then I would say it's better to move a little bit further away, because the way it works is you have Toronto as the epicenter of real estate, where arguably the price of real estate is gonna be the highest. And there is a radius. So the further you go away in that radius, the cheaper the real estate price points and the rents are going to be. I'll give you a simple example. Well, compared to Toronto, Mississauga is cheaper. Compared to Mississauga, Milton is cheaper. Compared to Milton, Guelph is cheaper. Compared to Guelph, you have Kitchener-Waterloo, that's cheaper. And if you go further away, London, all the way to Windsor, that's where the real estate price points are the cheapest. So that's what I'm trying to say. That's what you have to consider when you move to Guelph, Ontario, the cost of living, and do compare some other suburbs not too far away from Guelph where you could get more value for money when it comes to buying real estate or moving in. Now, one of the other key considerations you have to think about before you move to Guelph, Ontario is the growing pains of the growing city that you will experience when you move into Guelph, Ontario. Let me explain. Over the past few years, as I mentioned earlier, the city has definitely grown exponentially with influx of people moving into this region. Now, what that has resulted into is public services have definitely, the quality and the availability has definitely gotten limited. I'll give an example. If you move in and if you need to find a family doctor in Guelph, or if you need to find a daycare for your kids, things like that, the demand has definitely spiked up to the point where there's a long wait list at accessing some of these public services. Even accessing things like Service Ontario or Service Canada, you have longer wait times, or you need to get an appointment and stand in line, things like that. So what I'm trying to say, there's a growing pain that comes with the growing city. And also on the other hand, things like shopping. Well, Guelph, although it does have a few malls, but the shopping options are still limited. So with the people especially moving from Greater Toronto area, if you're expecting something similar, well, don't expect anything closer to what you find in Toronto and some of the suburbs, because you will find everything you need on your day-to-day basis. But when it comes to some specialized shopping options, well, they are limited in Guelph, because although it has grown like a city, it is still a suburb, and the city has a lot to catch up when it comes to your shopping options. Same with the traffic. Well, just think about it. Although the city is still considered a small city outside of Toronto, traffic scenes moving in and out of the city during those peak hours is definitely daunting at times. What you will notice, especially if you are a commuter having to head to Highway 401 during those peak hours, you will find a handful of traffic during those peak hours. So it is a suburb, but don't expect that, traffic will be a breeze going in and out of the city, because like I said, the growing pains of the growing city is what you will have to deal with if you decide to move into Guelph, Ontario. If you're not a winter person, this might be a deal breaker for you, but Guelph is landlocked city. So unlike some of the towns, around Greater Toronto area, I can give an example, places like Hamilton, Burlington, Mississauga, Oakville, they are surrounded by the body of water, such as Lake Ontario. Unlike that, if you were to look up Guelph in the map, what you will notice is primarily landlocked. So you don't have a major water body surrounding it. What that does result in is during the winter months, the winter will be cold and harsh with amount of snow that's higher than average. What you will notice, this lake waters helps moderate the temperature and the humidity during the winter months. So if you look at places that are surrounded by those major water bodies during the winter months, on an average, the winters are not as harsh, the air is not as cold and crisp, and at the same time, they don't get as much snow. So what I'm trying to say, if you were to live in Guelph, just be prepared to invest in a good snowblower and a pair of good jacket and snow boots, because you will need that. On an average, it does snow more, higher than average in Guelph, Ontario compared to some of the other cities surrounded by the lake waters. And the same is true when it comes to winter temperatures, which are really slightly, colder than that of the average in Toronto suburbs. So just for you to keep in mind, if you're not a winter person, Guelph may not be the town for you. Or in other words, if you are a fan of winter and enjoying outdoors during the cold, Guelph has to be the paradise for you. Now, one of the other reasons why you may not want to move to Guelph, Ontario is because of its limited public transit network. So if you have someone in your family who is going to rely on public transit after you move in, just keep in mind, Guelph, Ontario is still a suburban town away from the major cities. So if you are moving from a place like Toronto or one of these suburbs around Toronto, well, the public transit network is not as extensive in Guelph, Ontario. Although there are great services throughout the day, during those evenings and weekends time, you will find the frequency and the connectivity is not as great as you would see in some of the bigger towns like Toronto. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you are a commuter, let's say go into downtown Toronto and have to commute by, let's say, GO. We do have a GO station right at the heart of Guelph, Ontario. So you will definitely get the connectivity. But I'm talking more so about the frequency and the accessibility of these public transit options, with again coming back to the amount of growth the city has experienced over the recent past. I feel like there's a lot that needs to be caught up by some of these public transit offerings when it comes to both within the city and getting you out of the city through one of this GO transit network. I think they need to increase the frequency and the accessibility of the public transit services for the city as a whole. So like I said, if you have someone in your family who is going to have to rely on public transit, well, you want to be very careful as to where you live, because you ideally want to be very close to some of these public transit hubs to make sure your life is a little bit easier having to commute through this public transit network. Now, this last reason did not matter to us as much, but it might matter more to you guys if you are a nightlife person. You can probably figure out where I'm heading with this. Nightlife options in Guelph are very limited, nothing compared to what you find in Toronto. So, if you are a fan of nightlife, well, I have to tell you that it's virtually non existent in the town of Guelph. There are some great options when it comes to clubbing and bars and place to hang out, but the nightlife scenes are nothing as compared to what you find in Toronto. After all, it's still a suburban town away from Toronto. But on the brighter side, well, if you are living in Guelph, commuting to Toronto on a Friday night or Saturday night may not be a big deal. You can easily do that commute. It's about 45 minutes to an hour drive without traffic. Hopefully you don't run into any traffic on a Friday or Saturday night. So it's still accessible, but just know that within the city of Guelph, the nightlife options are gonna be very limited, and that might be a deal breaker for you if you enjoy nightlife. So there you have it. These are some of the key reasons why Guelph may not be a suitable town for you and your family. And candidly speaking, these are the things that we had considered when me and my family were thinking of moving to Guelph, Ontario. Now, in case you want to compare other towns close to Guelph, for example, Kitchener versus Guelph, I've done a video about that on my channel. So be sure to check that out. Or if you want to find out the better side of Guelph, I've done a video about the pros and cons of living in Guelph, Ontario. Feel free to check that out as well. But nonetheless, I hope you did get some value. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on the bell for notification so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. Once again, whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. All the info you will find right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you and your family make a smooth move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, or Guelph. Until next time, well, I do hope to see you around town.